there's all these stories about, guys over in Macedonia who are running these fake news sites.
Number 24 is Content Farms in Macedonia.
Бидејќи ако се направи грешка, таа ќе биде кобна. Нема враќање назад.
So Europe need to remain more sexy lady in the world.
Ајде, мајката!
Господа ја чува Македонија и низините граѓани.
Round 2 of the local elections in Macedonia is now over, and Vumero wins bigly. Syriza comes in a mere third, and accusations and condemnations fly. Dewey performs badly again, but will Ali Ahmeti finally go the way of those before him, like, 6 feet, 2 meters under? We'll discuss all this and more on this episode of the Macedonian Content Farmers Podcast. I'm Jason Miko, coming to you from the foot of the Catalina Mountains in Oro Valley, Arizona.
And this is Cvetin Čilimanov, actually in the foot of Vodno Mountain in Skopje, Macedonia.
Wonderful. Has it snowed yet?
We had a
little early.
Bit of snow like a few weeks ago, but since then it's like stable, warmish, pleasant weather, nice weather.
Yes, okay, good. Well, I'm looking forward. I will be there. I'll announce in advance. I will be there for Orthodox Christmas and New Year's. So looking forward to coming and seeing family and friends and hanging out and seeing the changes. Seeing Skopje cleaned up, perhaps? Is that going to be possible?
It starts like in a few hours. We're recording now on the 6th at about 4:30 local time, and we're actually counting down the hours. Orca Georgievski, the new mayor of Skopje, who promised to clean the city up in 72 hours after he takes over from Danila Arsovska as mayor, he should begin in about 3 hours.
Okay, so actually, this is a good point. So when do the mayors actually take office? So the election was on, as you said, we're doing this on the 6th, which is Thursday. The round 2 was on November 2, Sunday. Results have to be certified, etc. But when do the new mayors actually take office?
Immediately after certification, but certification can take a while because if it's close enough, the result, and somebody complains about the outcome, then there can be a recount, etc.
Right.
But in Orca's case, it was not
Big
even
time.
close. So
Bigly, right? Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah. Okay, so Vumero got what, 54, 55 mayorships?
Yeah, 55 with Skopje, I think.
Wow.
60 was the maximum they could get, so almost everything.
So Vumero, won bigly with 50. You said 55?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Syriza got what, 3, 4?
6, 3 in
Six.
the first round, 3 in the second round.
Okay. All right.
Two of them are even bordering, so they're actually connected to municipalities together.
Right.
Kriva Palanka and Makedonska Kamenica. We didn't think they will pull it off.
Right. Of course, and a big one for Vumero was Kičevo, I understand.
Yeah, that's the big one for the entire country.
For the entire country, right,
We'll
yes.
have to discuss it in more detail.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. And quickly going through the parties and the seats, Vlin outperformed Dewey in terms of the mayorships, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They got, I think, 9, including some purely, exclusive Albanian areas where they didn't have any help from Macedonian voters, like the entire Polog Valley, the main urban centers like Tetovo and Čair in Skopje. Surprisingly, they took Sarai from a person who was in serious competition to be the main power in Dewey after Artan Grubi fled the country. With help of Vumero, they took Struga and Debar. So basically, they left no crumbs. Even though they have significantly less overall votes from Dewey combined with the two alliance parties. So they have about 120,000 votes on their council lists. Vlen has about 90,000. But still, we're expecting defections from Dewey. These two alliance parties can easily leave the coalition with Dewey now. And Vlen is practically down to bare bones. They have a lot of potential to bring in factions from Dewey. So they will probably not experience defections, but will instead attract more Albanian local officials. And in the mayoral races where Macedonians could help them, but also where there was no Macedonians to help them, they did a clean sweep. Like Dewey has, I think, 4, and Vlen has 8 or 9. And Gostivar, there has to be a repeated vote because Vlen and Vomero could not compete there seriously. The candidate was close with one of the alliance parties and with Dewey, so put together they were overwhelmingly strong. So the local Vlen and Macedonian voters just boycotted the elections. So there will have to be a new vote in January. So this would have been the one city that Dewey takes, but it would have made their coalition weaker because Dewey is losing everywhere, and an alliance candidate wins a major city on their ticket. So this faction of the alliance parties would probably have said, hey, listen, why are we staying with you and we're winning, you're losing? So even winning here would not have helped them much. And even this victory was denied by boycott.
Right, okay. Real quick detour here. It's been a long time since I've written a column, and for whatever reason, I'm just getting slow on that. I'm getting old. But I want a quick preview of my next column. I just remember this. You'd be amazed, and everybody would be amazed at what I actually have in my files for over a quarter of a century. Sounds like a long time, because it is a long time, of stuff relating to Macedonia. And I have a photocopy of a fax in my hands. A fax. People, you young people listening, do you know what faxes are? It's dated May 24, 2001. So it'll be a quarter of a century next year. It is a statement from the European Union in Skopje, directed towards the NLA, and the last sentence, actually technically it's 3 sentences because there's 3 periods, even though two of the sentences are single words. It says, and this is directed towards Ali Ahmeti and the NLA, and the fundamental message is simple: go now. So I think this is what it didn't work a quarter of a century ago, because not only did Ali Ahmeti not go now or anywhere or anytime, but a quarter of a century later, maybe finally this is the proverbial nail in the coffin, and it's his own constituency that is telling him the message, and the fundamental message is simple: go now. How is Ali Ahmeti defending himself these days?
So yeah, they're attacking Vlen for siding with Vomero.
Of course.
Mostly over Kičevo, of course. They're very, very angry at, he himself, I don't think he actually made any comments. So we were waiting. Danila didn't make any comments after, she didn't even run in Skopje. Stevcha, Akimovsky, and Karposh only today posted something on Facebook. Otherwise, he was missing in public. Normally, you can't drag him out from the YouTubes. Ahmeti, I don't think he made any comment, but his people are saying that Vlen are lap dogs of Vomero, and that they made intra-fraternal warfare on the Albanians, helping an ethnic Macedonian win in Kičevo, because obviously Vlen voters in Kičevo either didn't vote or voted for the Macedonian guy, or some of them who didn't want to be seen by Dewey supporters in Kičevo that they're boycotting, so they came out to vote, didn't want to vote for a Macedonian, so they just put in an invalid ballot. There was a lot of this in this election. But yeah, this is the attack, that they are traitors, lapdogs of the Macedonians, and that they gave a Macedonian candidate a city which Artan Grubi from Dewey famously called, this is our war plunder, war gain from 2001. We can't give it up to a Macedonian guy.
Right. Well, okay, a couple of things on that. So number one, Dewey is playing, now, to a certain degree, all political parties everywhere, play into identitarian politics, whether it's, in the case of Macedonia, ethnic parties, or over here it's class or race or LGBTQ2 spirit, plus minus divided sign, all of that stuff, and as opposed to focusing on issues that people care about, garbage in the city, things like that. Things in this case being the mayorships, they don't have they don't control macroeconomic policy, but they do control things like garbage pickup and infrastructure and things like that. And so Dewey is just playing entirely, it seems to me, the ethnic card, whereas I think Vlen was siding with Vumro because you know what? The Vumro mayors were actually proposing solutions to the real problems that real people care about. And in the case of Kičevo, maybe we can talk about that a little bit now. I understand that the new mayor's wife, is ethnic Albanian. So, and of course now, Ali Ahmeti comes from the little town outside of Kičevo, right? Zayas?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a big thing to him. But yeah, let's talk about Kičevo, what that means for Macedonia and for Vumro.
Well, on the Macedonian side, it was huge triumph because, as you said, the candidate is a doctor, well-renowned, obviously not a nationalist person, married to an Albanian with 3 children who are obviously bilingual. I suppose he is bilingual as well. But of course, even with this type of absolutely conciliatory candidate running against Fatmir Dehari, mayor of 12 years, who was a UÇK commander, whose office in the city hall was adorned with war memorials, like we fought the Macedonians and we won, and this is our plunder from the war, who was an absolute nationalist and obviously a corrupt person, as everybody in Dewey is. So after this victory, there was tremendous outpouring on the streets of Kičevo, Macedonians mostly celebrating, some Albanians accusing Dehari of corruption. What helped the Albanians a lot was a relative of Ali Ahmeti, who is actually a minister in the government. He ran as mayor, he got a lot of votes, he was attacking Ahmeti for corruption, but also there was a leak of wiretaps. There is an Albanian kid in the US who is posting, who is openly soliciting secretly made wiretaps. So he posted before the election an audio tape in which Dehari is threatening a woman employee, like, come sit in my lap, the usual sexist, Balkan chauvinist stuff. The family of the woman reacted very strongly. Like, this gave Vlen an opportunity to say, okay, we have a person who is not fit for office, who is insulting Albanian women, like women in general, corrupt, of course. So we are calling on him to withdraw from the race, so we have better Albanian candidates. So they wouldn't necessarily endorse a Macedonian guy. That's a bridge too far for the Albanians. So Vumro could get Macedonian people to vote for an Albanian in Tetovo because realistically he was competing against another Albanian. So Macedonian did not have a chance to win in Tetovo. So Vumro told the Macedonian voters, come on guys, let's vote for the lesser of two evils, or the Albanian who promises more Macedonian representation. Let's vote to retire Ali Ahmeti. And it generally worked. But in Kičevo, Vlen was supposed to tell Albanian citizens, we have an Albanian guy who can realistically win, but we need you to vote for the Macedonian guy, or not vote, or spoil your ballot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's really asking them to do a lot.
Yeah.
But these wiretaps helped them credibly say, like, he's insulting a decent woman from a good family in the city, he's a corrupt person, and the opponent is obviously somebody who is like multi-ethnic family, so this was all, everything got together. Even this was a little too much for the mayor of Tetovo, Bilal Kasami, who went to an Albanian television thinking that comments he makes in Albania will not be seen in Macedonia, I guess, where he said, no, of course, we Albanians should vote for the Albanian in Kičeva. Mickovski went ballistic on him because Kasami could easily lose the race in Tetovo if Vomero had the Macedonians vote for the Dui guy. So like they were, Macedonian voters in Tetovo were like the swinging constituency. Mickovski told him, we are in coalition against Dui in Tetovo, we are not running a Macedonian candidate in Tetovo, opening ourselves to attacks from Levica, that we as a Macedonian party have abandoned Macedonians in Tetovo, leaving them without representation, even though a losing candidate, to help you out. And you, SOB, are going and asking Albanians in Kičeva to vote for the Dui guy against the Macedonian guy. Multi-ethnic, okay. So Kasami immediately realized that if he doesn't reverse course, he will be out of the government, which Vlen can now very easily do. Like they can kick him out. Izet Medjiti, who won in Chair, is obviously profiling himself as the strongest person in Vlen. He can easily now plunder a couple of factions from Dui, because his party was created from the ruins of Dui anyway. He can take one of the alliance parties, probably the one in Struga, Ziadin Silas alliance party. He can actually kick Kasami out. And I assume Mickovski threatened Kasami that he'll have the Macedonians in Tetovo vote for the Dui candidate in the second round, just to show him. And very quickly, Kasami changed course. He retracted his statement, focused on these faults of the Albanian candidate. Vlen issued a statement as a party saying that, well, we told Fatmir Dehari in Kičeva after the wiretaps came out that he should withdraw from the race, that we should have a better Albanian candidate. So generally endorsed the Macedonian candidate. And eventually, of course, there were like a dozen charter flights from Switzerland, from Germany, bringing Albanian diaspora people from Kičeva to vote, to vote in Kičeva for the Dui guy, but still it wasn't enough. Dr. Jovanovski won by, I think, 1,500 votes. Mickovski went immediately that evening to celebrate in Kičeva. Went to not Bogovinje, what's the name of there was another municipality near Tetovo, which is mixed 50-50 Macedonians, Albanians. And the problem there was that the Albanian guy was from Vlen. So here Vomero and Vlen were in direct confrontation. And here also the Albanian guy came out and said, okay, I'm not Vlen anymore, I'm just an Albanian. Dui people should vote for me. And Mickovski again reacted angrily to this, like this is, we have like a broader coalition that goes beyond ethnicity. We consider Dui to be hugely corrupt. We are fighting against them, and you are here pushing for ethnic style voting. Brvenica is the municipality. This is unacceptable. Mickovski immediately said that he will fire the Vlen candidate, who is some official in the government, like middle level management, head of some inspection service. And eventually the Macedonian guy won here as well. So Mickovski went immediately to Brvenica to celebrate, and then to Kičeva.
Interesting. Okay, that's good. That's a good good summary of what's going on there. So, and has he taken? I guess what's Alexander Jovanovski, the new mayor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Has he taken office yet?
I think so.
Not certified. Yeah.
It's close, like 1,500 votes. I think the Hari can demand a recount. I haven't seen this, whether he's already in his office.
Okay. Yeah.
Not
Actually, what does trigger? That's a good question. What does trigger a recount in terms of the difference between candidates? I think in most places here, it's like less than 0.5%. So I'm sure it's something similar to that. But 1,500 votes out of what? 20,000 cast? That's more than 0.5%. So
Yeah. We had like the famous case was when an Albanian woman came and said she was turned back from voting, and she was obviously, but because she didn't have like an identity card, and she claims, no, I had one. And you can't prove this, it's her word against that of the team, or that actually, or it was like that they gave her. No, it's not that. This is not enough. If it's just one person, you need to come up with some technical issue that, like, I don't know, there was something was wrong with her ballot. Like they gave her a double ballot, tore her ballot. This was something that meant that the entire voting was invalid. The parties know all the tricks. I mean, they can. Yeah. We haven't had like a serious recount in a while, but there is a way to.
Right. There were no hanging chads or anything like that. For our younger listeners that may not understand what that references to, the 2000 presidential elections in the United States.
First we talk fax machines. Now I can't chads. We're super old.
Yes. Right. Okay. Well, what else from the second round of elections do we need to cover before we kind of we can talk. Actually, let's Skopje. So the round two was between not Vomero and Citizen, but Vomero and Levica. So,
that was interesting.
Which was probably quite a shock for Citizen, having been used to being the top, at least one of the top two parties in the Macedonia.
Yes.
But how many votes and again, for viewers, listeners, Levica is literally the left, the party of the left, the socialists or communists, or even more so than Citizen.
Like the democratic socialists. The Mamdani and AOC style.
Democratic socialists who are nationalists, the national socialists.
They're tactically socialist, so they're nationalists. So they just to try to steal some votes from Vomero, they ran candidates in Tetovo, in Gostivar, and in Struga, saying that Vomero abandoned the Macedonians there, and they did to some extent like split the vote. So Vomero had like 4,500 votes, I think, in Tetovo on the council lists, and Levica had 1,500 for their mayoral candidate. So these are 1,500 votes that Vomero could have probably steered toward the Vlen candidate, and maybe. And this, the thinking was that Vomero was hoping that Vomero and Vlen were hoping to defeat the DUI candidates in the first round, but for this they needed the entirety of the Macedonian votes. So Levica running spoiler candidates meant that the DUI candidates can survive to the second round, and we didn't know how the Albanians would react to this. If they see that, oh look, the Macedonians are trying to elect our mayors in Tetovo, in Struga, in Kičevo, and in Tetovo and Struga, they're trying to select which Albanian will be mayor. They might have revolted. So by securing a second round race for DUI candidates, Levica could actually help them win. So this was very clearly a ploy from Levica. They're being nationalists, but in fact they're helping the Albanian, the strongest Albanian party, the Albanian nationalists, probably in exchange for money was the thinking here, or just to take votes from Vomero. But we generally assume that they were reimbursed for this service. But on the other hand, in Skopje they ran like a Mamdani guy, like a Bosniak person, a young, a Muslim candidate. So they were the ones abandoning. If they had their way, Skopje would have had a Muslim Bosniak socialist who worked only like a couple of odd jobs in his youth, and he's now, he would say, I'm political science major, but turns out he didn't even finish like the university, so he's just like member of parliament, and that's his entire qualification to run the the capital city. So in Skopje they were running like the complete opposite. So they were nationalists where it could hurt Vomera. They were internationalists in Skopje.
Right.
Going back to the Albanian races, it was funny. One of the DUI guys was out complaining, "Oh look, the Macedonians are employing tactical voting, and they are deciding who will be our mayor." And everybody was like, "Okay, yeah, but in 2016, the elections, you guys, the Albanians, about half of the voters, Albanian voters, voted for ESDSM. It happened once, that one time, never before, never again. So like out of the blue, just to bring ESDSM closer to Vomera, and then to kick Vomera, and then with the remaining votes, you elected Albanian members of parliament, who then said, even though Vomera won the elections among the Macedonians, you said, no, we're still siding with ESDSM, so you decided who will be our prime minister, and which Macedonian party will be represented in the government, and then a round of arrests and persecution followed, and the name change, etc. And okay, so yeah, we learned how to employ tactical voting, and now we are going to, you retired Gruevski with tactical voting, we will retire Ali Ahmeti now.
Yes.
So, sucks to be you.
This is just politics, no hard feelings. Yeah. So, right? Yeah. Well, when you're playing with, this is a much longer discussion for another podcast sometime. But when you allow people to play by, you have a set of rules, and let's say people come in that are not necessarily from the country, although in Macedonia's case that might be not, but then they use it to dismantle the very system that's been set up. Then anyway, that's another subject for another time. But let's since we're talking about election, we just had elections in Macedonia, we just had elections here in America, and off-year elections. So Virginia, New Jersey for the governors and other offices within those states. Interestingly enough, the new Attorney General of the state of Virginia, that's the top law enforcement officer, the top legal guy, had, it surfaced just a few weeks, maybe a little over a month ago, that he had sent text messages in which he actually said that his opponent should get 2 bullets in the head. Now, these came to light. Of course, he was embarrassed. He apologized. And yet people still voted for him. The top law enforcement officer wants his opponent dead with 2 bullets in his head. So anyway, that can, we can talk about the state of democracy in America and what that means. Although, speaking about democracy, H.L. Mencken, an American journalist, essayist, satirist, one of his famous quotes, which now applies to the good people of the city of New York, quote, "Democracy is the theory that the common people know what they want and deserve to get it good and hard." And so, New York, you are going to get it good and hard with your new mayor, who is a citizen not only of the United States of America, but also of Uganda. I have mixed feelings on the issue of dual citizenship. For me personally, I can only be a citizen and loyal to a citizen of one country at a time and loyal to that country at one at a time. I don't, if people want to be dual citizens, I think that's fine. I have no issue with that. But elected officials, I think the line should be drawn. I don't think we should have the mayor of the financial capital, not only of the United States, but of the planet, basically, a citizen of not just another country. If he was a citizen of the United Kingdom, okay, maybe. But Uganda, which is a third world country, and which has a lot of problems. And so anyway, so Zoran Mamdani, who is an admitted socialist. Now he's a Muslim. If he's a Muslim and he practices religion quietly and to himself, that's all fine and good, no problem. We don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. But he doesn't. He uses it as a cudgel to beat people up, and he talks about Islamophobia. He refused to condemn Hamas, which Israel's been fighting against forever. Hamas is a terrorist organization, recognized as a terrorist organization by the United States and the European Union and most European countries. I'm sure Macedonia probably recognizes them as a terrorist organization. He refused to say if Hamas should be. He has lots of opinions about Hamas and Israel and Netanyahu, etc. But he refused to say if he would to condemn Hamas and say that they should be disarmed. So he's got opinions when it's convenient and no opinions when it's also convenient to him. So he's got a very hard left socialist policy, especially when it comes to economic issues. And the good news for the people of New York is that the state, New York's a little bit different. So if the mayor of New York, whoever the mayor is, wants to raise taxes, and Mamdani wants to raise taxes on the wealthiest people in New York, he says that billionaires should not exist. And of course, he's standing next to Alexander Soros. Only his billionaires should exist. So he wants to raise taxes on the wealthiest people, but the government and the state government in Albany is the capital of New York, the governor and the state legislature have to approve that. Governor Kathy Hochul has said she won't do that. She's a Democrat, by the way. So we'll see if he can do that. But, yesterday, 2 days ago was the election. This is Thursday. So he's talking about free stuff, free buses, free housing, free health care, free child care, free this, free that, ice cream for everybody. And today, for his transition, he's out there with his transition team saying, please send me money for my transition team. So he's divisive. He divides people by class, by race, by skin color, immutable characteristics. And sets, this is classical neo-Marxism. Again, going back to the theme that's coming through this right now, our podcast right now, for our younger listeners, Marxism at its essence it pits two classes against each other, the workers and the owners. So neo-Marxism pits multiple classes against each other. Certainly there's the workers and the owners, but then there's the whites and the blacks and the Latinos, and then there's the straights and the LGBTQ plus divided sign two-spirit. There's men and women. There's now trans, of course. There's all these other classes that neo-Marxism divides people into. And of course, the highest thing that you want to be is a victim in all of these different classes. But that's what Mamdani is doing in New York. So again, the good people of New York are going to get it good and hard because that's what they voted for, and we'll see. Now he doesn't take off. Now talking about what we talked about a minute ago about how soon do they take their new positions as mayor in Macedonia? It's right after certification. Here in New York specifically, it's not until January 1. So basically 2 months before he can start wreaking havoc on the country, on the city. Well, that'll spill over into the rest of New York and neighboring states, etc. And everything he has said and everything that he says now and everything that he will say will be a giant commercial for the Republican Party for the 2026 midterm elections. We'll see how he does. I don't expect him to do well.
Yeah, New York is not bad. I mean, it will be a good example for, Trump can send troops at will when necessary, when things get out of hand, like we had here with Daniela Arsovska, when she stopped cleaning up the city in the run-up to the elections in coordination with Dewey, just, to make the worst possible atmosphere in the city. And it probably helped discourage many people from voting. We had relatively low turnout in the elections, and then the local mayors from Vomera, they had to self-organize and try to clean up the city without the heavy machinery. So in this case, when Mamdani messes up New York, Trump will, after some horrific crime, which will certainly happen, Trump will be able to deploy the troops or let them stew in their own, go bankrupt, have the remaining productive rich people in the city flee the city, and then what was that movie eventually when they're sealing off the city?
Escape from New York.
Yeah.
Talk about going back in time. That's Kurt Russell. That's before he played. He was Snake Plissken in the movie. Was his a great name, Snake Plissken. That's even before his role as Wyatt Earp in Tombstone. So yeah. Now I have
New Jersey. It's shame for New Jersey. You could have saved New Jersey from the fate
It's a 1981 film. John Carpenter. Wow.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, this
born
guy.
70.
Lee Van Cleef, who was in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Ernest Borgnine. Donald Pleasance. Harry Dean Stanton. Oh my gosh. Wow. Who I think, and Harry Dean Stanton just died. Oh no, he died a few years ago. Never mind. Anyway, okay, Escape from New York. Well, and I think Governor DeSantis in Florida is trolling the entire city of New York right now with some of his tweets. So we'll see how quickly the New Yorkers can escape.
They were good. They were good. Yeah.
Oh, well, this is
Okay, so we have London, we have New York. In Skopje, it was interesting here in the race. So they had like a Mamdani style, like an ethnic minority, young kid, etc. But they didn't really. I was just checking their website. There wasn't really much in terms of people can't afford apartments. I didn't see Amar Mecinovic, the Levica candidate, discuss this too much, like how they will make the apartments cheaper. It's an unavoidable populist issue. After the elections, Levica leader Apaseyev saying, "Oh, look, in New York, Mamdani is going to introduce government-run supermarkets." Well, he's coming back to what we had in Yugoslavia, and everybody's poo-pooing Yugoslavia, but we had the people's magazines, as they were called. But I didn't hear this in their campaign for mayor, in their mayoral campaign. The big issue for them was the fact that because of a quirk in the law, they were a big enough party, but not big enough to qualify for access to public funding for media, but also not small enough. So Levicen's number like in the middle, and the law just kind of like does not provide for mid-sized parties. So and legally they could not be given money to advertise, and this money usually goes to friendly news outlets. So it's a way to support like their Facebook campaigns, but also share them between themselves with party members who set up like websites. So this was their big issue, that we're being censored, even though they were invited to interviews, of course. This allegation of censorship, of course, drew some more attention to them, gave them a talking point, but they didn't have like the proper television ads, like the type Vmr and SDSM had. But the State Electoral Commission said, look, it's the law. You have people in parliament. You should have changed the law in time. But they didn't have like a proper populist issues. Obviously not, even less like ethnic, racial populist issues, like accusing maybe the Macedonians of running the city. Like that wouldn't fly well. So they did run a minority, but there were no like ethnic, like Roma discrimination issues maybe in their campaign to win votes. And in the end, Orca Georgievsky from Vmr, he had about the same number of votes in the first and the second round, 90,000+. He didn't get Albanian votes. Mickovsky acknowledged this, but obviously the entire focus was on how the Albanian Vlen will play in Kičeva. It would have been too much to ask them to also drum up votes in Skopje for Orca, who was winning 2-1 anyway, right? There was no need for this. On the other hand, SDSM gave a lot of votes to Levica, to Mecinovic. I don't see many Albanians voting for Levica either. So all the services Levica did for Dui in Struga, Tetova and Gustivar, they were not repaid with votes in Skopje. But it wasn't even 2-1, it was less than 2-1 margin of victory for Orca. And in the first round, Orca had 90,000, Mecinovic had 30,000. In the second round, it was 90-60, or 55, I don't know. So a lot of SDSM, or like generally left-wing people, did vote for Levica. On the other hand, and this is going to be important for future potential coalition making between Levica, SDSM, and DUI, SDSM had a candidate in Aerodrom. in the second round. And Levica are very strong there. But this candidate did not get Levica votes. So it turns out that SDSM has a party structure and they can direct people to vote for somebody. But Levica has like fickle, mood-driven voters. They cannot, they do not have a structure of people who would be working phones on election day, reminding them you have to vote, threatening them, cajoling them, like, okay, we hired your wife in the public administration, now you have to vote for us. The type of structure that VMRO and SDSM have. So it turned out that Levica cannot really, they can get protest votes fine, but if there is in the future a joint list for the general elections with Levica and SDSM and God forbid Dewey on the same list, it might actually be a net negative for the free parties, not not a net positive. So that was this is the big discussion. Like some people are saying, oh, on the opposition side, oh well, look, VMRO lost 140,000 votes from the general elections, which were like a referendum to bring down Dewey and SDSM. So obviously high turnout, everybody was super motivated. So this is like a business as usual election. The outcome was predetermined, so people were not inspired to vote. So therefore lower turnout for VMRO. But opposition people are saying, okay, but if we also, VMRO is declining, and if we add the Dewey, the Levica, and SDSM votes together, then we are as strong as VMRO. But it's very unlikely that's going to work out in real life. In reality, what's more likely is that SDSM is already having, like, today their official Oliver Spasovsky is making comments about factional activities. So he might be like a challenger. He was asked, are you going to try to replace Filipče as leader? Filipče does not want to resign. One of the goofier deputy leaders, Anna Čupeska from the law faculty, she resigned immediately. There is expectations that the Skopje faction will turn against them. So it's Strumica is like they have an open rebellion in Strumica, so it's more likely that SDSM will enter a phase of deconstruction, Dewey as well, and that Levica has generally reached, the type of votes they can reach, but without gaining any power, which is needed to
continue
build like a disciplined.
So they're going to plateau and then decline.
Well, that's the expectation. Right. I will see. I mean, obviously VMRO F's up things royally, and the only thing is like I could imagine seeing is that if Albania and Montenegro actually join the EU in a short period of time and actually visibly get richer, that would be like, okay, with VMRO we are losing out on this, and that might resuscitate this SDSM Dewey position that we need to make a deal with the Bulgarians immediately, but then Levica does not fit this coalition. So this would be an issue again where they would not be, these three parties would not be a good match. And Levica even has a stated goal of destroying SDSM, and after in their victory speech, instead of saying thank you to the SDSM voters, Mecinovic did. So he's like the more reasonable Levica leader. But the actual leader, Apasiev, told them, okay, you now get back in line. We are the largest opposition party. And SDSM is reduced to holding press conferences with their leader, insisting, no, we are the second largest opposition party. And VMRO comes out, reminds them, do we have about the same number of votes as you did in the local elections? And Vlen has twice, a third more mayoral seats. So you're, narrowly second. If you're second, you're barely second.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like Syriza they got it good and hard, and now they need to take a good and hard look into the mirror and figure out what's wrong with them. Yeah. All right.
It's
I gotta run here. Do they all get cleaned up and run to the office. Okay, that's a good wrap. Let's.
Yeah, we didn't even get to Stevcha losing in Karpacz, but
yeah,
we'll
we'll
see. Oh, okay. He did get an honorable mention that after doing live streams every other day for 3 hours now, that he's missing in action.
Good. Okay. That's a good wrap. Let's maybe circle back here in a couple of weeks, and see where things are as we begin to glide into the holidays, both there and here, and go from there.
Okay, absolutely.
All right. Hey.
Take care, buddy.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.